It's the end of the year and everyone is super busy setting their goals for the next year. But I do believe that most people do get it wrong when it comes to goal setting, and this is why they never really achieve their goals. The truth is, I have always been goals-orientated person. So every end of the year, I would sit down and start thinking about the goals or New Year resolution for the next year. And it normally goes something like this. I will sit down and think about what I want to achieve next year. I will write down all the daily plan, weekly plan, sometimes daily habits that I want to implement for the next year. And I'm sure what I was doing is probably nothing new to you, because if you go around on social media, that is what most people are doing. But the first problem with this goal setting system is that whatever you set out to do in the next year on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis may not be aligned with where you really want to be in a far future. And for these reasons, these goals are not enough motivation for you to accomplish your weekly tasks or daily habits, because they're not significantly aligned with your future self. And I kind of know this way too well, because this was literally what I was doing. I was just blindlessly sitting down and trying to set goals, and hell, if anything, I was actually copying other people's goals because I thought they were quite cool. So that is what I personally think is a wrong way in terms of setting goals, and it doesn't really set you up for success. Now let's talk about what is the right way and the system that I have been doing in the past 18 months, and it actually gives me so much result, so much so that I feel like I have accomplished so much in these 2 years comparing to what I had accomplished in my entire 20s. After reading bunches of goal setting books, I come to realize that the right process in terms of setting goals should look kind of like this. And therefore, the very first question you should ask before you actually sitting down and setting goals for next year is actually, who do you want to be in a far future? And I'm talking about really far future, for example, like 10 years from now. And you can call this your vision or your true north. Now, if you're someone who is quite new into self-development or designing your own life sort of process, thinking ahead 10 years may be a little bit too far for you. And if you find that so difficult and you can't really picture where you want to be in 10 years, you might want to try picturing where you want to be in 5 years. And if you find it difficult to really understand where you want to be, which I certainly did when I started this whole process, then I would highly suggest you to grab a notepad every evenings for a week. Just sit down with yourself, asking yourself few questions, writing down your thoughts, writing down your ideas, and writing down who do you think you really want to be in the future. And I know this isn't an easy process. I've been there, I've done it. I know it's difficult, but it is such an important process for you to really understand where you want to be. As Bill Burnett said in his book, Designing Your Life, Build a Life That Works for You. You can't know where you're going until you know where you are. So therefore, understanding yourself now and where you want to be in the future is extremely crucial. And when you think about where you truly want to be in the future, you want to be thinking about the main important areas in life. And most of the time, it will be your health, your wealth, your relationships, and happiness. Now, if you're new around here, first of all, welcome to the channel. But the way I like to do is I like to make things as practical as possible. And for this goal setting process, in order to do that, I would give you some of the examples, some of the long-term goals that I've set for myself, so that it will help you in terms of getting ideas of your own personal goals. But what I would like to ask is, do not copy my goals, because both of us, we are different people, and what you want to be in the future is probably far different from where I want to be. Now let's talk about wealth first. For me personally, in 5 to 10 years time, I really want to be working less hours. I want to be working maximum of 5 hours a day and still earning a certain level of income, which for privacy purpose, I'm not going to disclose that number in this video. In terms of happiness, I will be helping as many people as possible, either by finding the right career for them to get job, helping them relocating, starting over in life, or finding life purpose. In terms of health, of course, I would like to be as healthy as I could possibly be in 10 years from now. And the way to measure that is I'm aiming to be around the same size, maybe plus or minus 1 size. And it's definitely not for vanity purpose, but because I know that I am in a healthy weight now, and if I maintain right around the same size, then I will continue to be healthy. Once your vision is clear, then it will guide you through to the rest of the goals, annual goals that you need to set and accomplish every single year. Again, I would like to quote Bill Burnett: "The true north will create your compass. They will help you know if you're on course or off course." The next step is to set your short-term goals, and those could be anything between 1 to 3 years. Now, you can certainly do all this using a notebook, a notepad, or recording them in a Word document. For me personally, I have been using Notion because I find it's just so much better for me to track my goals and track my habits when everything is in one place. Based on the vision and true north that I set for myself, the short-term goals are going to look something like this. Of course, I know that in 10 years I want to work less hours, but I can't just literally stop trading my time for money. However, what I can do in the short term, in 1 to 3 years, I can trade my time for money less and less. And that means that apart from my full-time job, I need to find other alternative incomes that I don't need to trade my time for. And with that, in the next 3 years, I will need to come up with 1 digital product a year. Another alternative income that I had also already implemented, which I will continue doing, is renting out my room or Airbnb. And then by the end of the next 3 years, I want to be able to start and own a small service-based business, which means that I need to learn the skills necessary for me to start and run the service-based business. What I was doing before, because my vision wasn't really clear, I was offering other services, and you can see that on my website. For example, the CV writing services or mock interview services, and I do plan to continue to keep them because although I know I need to trade my time for them, but I really enjoy doing them because I do get to help people, and it just makes me feel so happy to know that I have helped someone getting a job or an interview. But with that brings me to the next section of my goal, which is happiness. By now, I know myself and I know that I am a people person. And in order for me to be happy, I want to be helping out people. And therefore, in the next 3 years, I want to be able to help 1,000 people. And in order to do that, I think this is just a numbers game. Most of the people that I have helped find me through YouTube. And if we think about numbers, let's say if 1% of people watching my video actually follow what I recommend, follow my advice, that means I'm going to need 100,000 subscribers in order to help 1,000 people in the next 3 years. Pretty stretch goal, I know. And once you have your short-term 1 to 3 years goal, then and only then you can start thinking about what you want to accomplish for the next year. And you do that by picking out the details of your short-term goals and see which ones will be on your priority list for the next year and which ones can wait. And once you have your goal for the next year, there are many ways that you can monitor them and make sure that you execute them. Personally, for me, depending on the goal, some goal I will create in my Notion as task, and some goals I will create in my Notion as habits, and I will track them on a day-to-day basis. And executing and monitoring is actually the 2 bottom layers of the designing your life triangle, which although I really want to talk about them in this video, but if I do, this video is probably going to be too long because I really want to cover them in detail with practical step-by-step tips. So I think it's probably best to cover that in a separate video. But those 2 bottom layers, as you can see from the chart, are the fundamentals to your success. Whether you become the person that you want to be in the far future or whether you will accomplish the life that you design will pretty much depends on the fundamentals of what you do on a daily basis and weekly basis and quarterly basis. So that's why paying close attention to these layers or levels are extremely important, and there are some tips and strategies that I can recommend you, which I will be covering in that video. What I want you to also remember is that do understand that sometimes plan change. Although I have accomplished a lot of the things that I set out myself to do or to be 2 years ago, there are certain aspects that I have not accomplished because I don't really want them anymore. And that's absolutely okay. That's why I do this exercise quite regularly, at least once a year, to make sure that my true north or my vision is still the same and it hasn't changed, so that I can make sure that I am living my day intentionally and that I'm working towards something. Now, I know this is not a typical goal setting videos, because most of the time people just want to sell you instant gratification. They will tell you that write all these goals down and then you change your life in 3 months, you change your life completely in 6 months, which in a way you can change a lot in 3 months or 6 months, but to change your entire life or redesigning your life, you are going to need clear vision and reasonable amount of time to work toward it. But remember, you can be the architect of your own life and you can design your own life. I really wish someone has told me this years ago in my 20s, because as I said, in the past 2 years or 4 years, I had actually accomplished so much more than I did in my entire 20s. And if you watched this video until the end, I really hope this video inspired you to do something different and think differently. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.